It's really interesting that most of us think of our world as something fairly narrow. We draw a circle around our family, our immediate community, our tribe. If we're really broad-minded, we might wrap around the entire human race. But the fact is that everything's connected.
Our vision is that Sonoma Valley is a place where people and land and wildlife can thrive. And that is what creates the true security for a community, is living in a way that maintains and stewards the resources of that place so that they're there for the long term. We looked at the land really carefully after the 2017 fires, and it was really clear that these lands are adapted to fire. These trees and valleys thrive actually after fire. There's more wildlife after fire than in a place that had kept fire out for 50 years.
Nature's a beautiful thing, right? Everybody wants to live around nature. Why wouldn't you? You soak in all the beauty. Now, the unfortunate thing is, as people are relocating to wild spaces, all of a sudden the thing that they valued becomes a threat, right? And now the peace is lost and becomes a fear. So how do you work with nature to defend yourself from these fire events?
One of the ways that we reconnect people and the land and assure that both thrive long-term is by reintroducing prescribed fire onto the land.
The great thing about this is not only does it suppress invasive cover, it actually increases native plant diversity. So it's one of the only methods we have to suppress highly invasive grassland species and increase the biological diversity within California grasslands.
Burning, as we are doing here today on this field, is a very practical and very sensible solution to the problem of how do we mitigate the fuels and the risks of dry season wildfire.
A nice cool fire at the right time of year rejuvenates a grassland. Native Californians use fire somewhere every year.
We're now reintroducing those practices for the benefit of the land and the health of the land.
A field that has been burned down and reduced in its fuel load is an incredible gift and a way really of helping prevent what was a very serious loss for my family in 2017.
There's an ideal practice for every type of site-specific fuel management situation you're dealing with. Here in the grasslands, prescribed fire is an excellent tool. But you know, if we're doing a thinning a forest break out on a ridge line, then we're dealing with mechanical treatments.
The buildup of vegetation in our forests due to the century of wildfire suppression we've just experienced can really be alleviated by sending crews in, such as the Sonoma Ecology Center, to go and thin out the understory vegetation by hand with chainsaws, replicating those natural clearing effects of fire. And this type of work gives CAL FIRE really a fighting chance to be able to stop fires from moving through our forests because they lose momentum when they encounter this fuels treatment activity that we're doing here in the PC forest.
The Sonoma Ecology Center is a resource for the community here. And basically, we are getting involved on every level, from doing wildland fuel reduction projects and forest thinning work on ridge lines, to create defensible space for wildland firefighting crews to protect communities, to designing and installing fire-wise, eco-friendly landscaping.
One of the ways that we're doing this more and more is by working with native plants in their landscaping with the right spacing. Native plants are kind of an amazing fix-it. They support pollinators, they don't use much water, they last forever, they need very little maintenance.
So we're really providing solutions on every level, from creating defensible space to now re-envisioning space.
Nature is fine with fire. What we need to relearn is how to have a culture that understands fire and uses fire, respects it, but uses it so that it's not a thing of terror.
The Ecology Center has evolved a lot since it began. But I think we've always had this sense that you should use an approach that is a cycle like nature. And that cycle includes learning about where you are. Our research work has really been for years to try and understand where we live and why the things that are here are important and how we can take better care of them.
Sonoma Ecology Center brings a host of services and resources that can help people, the public, in managing their landscapes and providing perhaps protections for the community at large. I thank Sonoma Ecology Center for maintaining the beautiful valley that we live in.
Part of our job at the Ecology Center is to ask what the land wants. What will it take for these lands and waters to be healthy? In part to support the natural world, and in part to support the people.
There's so much to learn from other cultures, other ages, and putting these ideas together is what our times are all about, trying to figure out how to connect the threads of all this wisdom. We all need to be learning from each other as fast as possible and to combine our wisdom to solve the huge challenges that we're in the middle of.